introduction speak tonight. I am so excited to welcome the man that has stood by his campaign promises to protect children from the hypersexualization.
Please continue.
Meeting decorum will be respected.
I got hay fever. Sorry.
This is going to be fun, Ryan. I've dealt with these people for a long time at City Council. So I want to welcome everybody here because he has stood by every single one of his campaign promises to protect children from the hypersexualization that's happening in our public schools. He has stood by his promise to make sure that he represents the people of the state of Oklahoma and not special interests or the teachers union that like to exploit their teachers and extort them out of money.
What about the coach in Greenland?
Sir, if you're going to obstruct the meeting, you will be escorted out. Scott, could you please make sure that the deputy comes on in here? Because I think we're going to have some issues.
Well, you want to protect children, so I'm just asking about protection.
Sir, are you recognized? If you're not recognized, please refrain from opening your mouth. Thank you very much.
Our humanity will be recognized.
Yes. Yep. Please don't talk about teachers union like that.
Okay. Anyhow, what we're going to do is we're going to start this meeting in the same way that we start every one of our Republican county party meetings. And we're going to start this. We're going to start this with a prayer, a moment of silence, and a pledge. All right. So I would ask that everybody, if you're wearing a hat, please remove your hat. Stand, please, so that we can just give due honor to God that brought us and created us. Somebody's got the phone on, they're doing it on purpose.
It's out in the hall, it's not in here.
It's not in the hall.
Sorry, I triggered you.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for the freedom to be able to gather today in this great country. We thank you for the opportunity for us to express ourselves and to gather together in peaceable assembly as the Constitution has guaranteed us. We thank you, Heavenly Father, for blessing us with this great nation and for allowing us to enjoy the freedoms outlined in our constitutions and guaranteed by that sacred document. We also ask, Lord, dear Lord, that you bless the Cleveland family in the recent loss of their mother. We ask you that you please bless Superintendent Walters as he shares with us his vision and his truth. We ask you, please, dear Heavenly Father, that you also guide your hand upon this group of individuals so that we can conduct this meeting in a peaceable and meaningful manner. We ask this through Jesus Christ, our Lord, who sacrificed himself on the cross for us in the unity of the Holy Spirit, one God, forever and ever. Amen. Amen. Everybody, there's the flag right there. Salute. Pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I also want to, okay, you can go ahead and have a seat. I also want to recognize any of our elected officials, in addition to Superintendent Walters that are here this evening. Former Council Member Rashard Tortorello, Representative Sherry Conway. I want to welcome them. Now, this was such a short notice for us that we were able to even organize a place for Superintendent Walters to come and talk to us. And I'm extremely grateful to the work that you have done, sir, and the benefit that you have provided to public education. As a 35-year veteran of public education myself, I am indebted to the type of work that you do. And I'm extremely grateful for that. I thank you, and I'm pleased to introduce to you guys tonight Superintendent of Public Education, Ryan Walters. Excuse me for a moment. Folks, there is a decorum up here, and we would ask that you please respect the meeting decorum. Thank you.
Oh, we're going to have a good time. We're going to have a good time. Hey, folks, first of all, I want to say thank you guys. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for being out tonight. I know we're not going to agree on everything, but this right here, this is what America's about. This is what Oklahoma needs to be about, and this is how we get our schools back on track. is for us coming together, despite what we agree on or disagree on, and let's have that discussion. So here's what I would like to do. I am going to give you some comments. I want to give you some thoughts on some of the things we've been working on. I want to tell you a little bit about my day in Norman. Had some really good events that I was able to attend today. Got to attend a career tech center and some schools. I want to say a little bit about that. I want to say a little bit about what I think our vision needs to be moving forward in education. Then I'm just going to open it up for questions and answers. Okay, so I want to give plenty of time to that. I have about a hard stop a little after 6:30. I'm not going to talk very long, 20 minutes, and we'll get into questions and answers. Okay. So first of all, I want to talk a little bit about my day in Norman. So first of all, you guys have a great career tech center here. It's something we've been emphasizing a lot. It's trying to find ways to ensure that every single child has the ability to enter into the workforce, whether that is going to college first and going into the workforce, or whether that's developing a skill and then being able to be employed based upon that skill. And the career tech systems have done a tremendous job of that. We also met with the Norman Chamber, and we're working on ways to provide educators more resources to make sure that when a kid goes through their classroom, if they want to give students an understanding of how to use math and science in ways that completely and directly work towards the job that they're able to do so. So that was a great meeting, and again, I think that it's going to be key to get the business communities to stay involved and to keep assisting in that way. We also met this morning with some superintendents in the area, and we were able to talk through the teacher empowerment program, which will be launched in September. And again, we've already got dozens and dozens of applications from different districts around the state. And the way this will work is if you are a teacher in a district that's taken on additional duties, and you see this with a lot of teachers where they've been a department head, or they've trained new teachers, or they've co-taught with other teachers. They're doing a lot beyond what their job really is, of just education of our young people. So what it is it's a match. So that if a district pays you $5,000 or $10,000 to do these duties, we will match that from the State Department. So this is a great way to get teachers into the classroom and keep them, and give districts some flexibility to keep some of the best and brightest teachers. The other thing that we talked about was the new signing bonus. So we have over 750 teachers that have agreed to come into the state of Oklahoma to teach now through our signing bonus program. We're very excited about that. And one of the things that we really want to make sure we do is we get these teachers embedded in the districts, and we're able to continue to build supports for our schools moving forward. So very excited about that, very excited about the folks we're able to talk to about it, and really look forward to continuing those partnerships. So, where are we? How are we 49th in education? And how do we get out of this? So let me first of all tell you, it's not about funding, folks. Let me tell you, this is simply about the education system and the way that it's been allowed to function. Folks, let me tell you, you can educate children to be successful by involving their parents, by thinking outside of the box, and by empowering education, not indoctrination in our classrooms. And what we've continued to see is a teachers union that is dead set on controlling your kids. What we've continued to see is a teachers union that wants to indoctrinate your children.
That's right.
What we've also seen is a Biden administration that has partnered with teachers unions to shut down schools in this state and across the country. And in doing so, they have also pushed the most radical elements our school systems have ever seen.
That's right.
We've seen critical race theory, diversity, equity, and radical gender theory in our schools. And folks, let me tell you, you're going to have a lot of people that are going to say it's not happening. You're going to have a lot of people that are going to deny the truth, despite how much you see it.
No, you're wrong.
And here's the reality, folks. They think that you're dumb. They think they can lie to you and tell you, despite all of the information we've given you,
This is the kind of leadership.
When was the last time you were in a classroom?
hey guys, I told you, I would let you
let him
ask all the
speak.
questions at the end.
You're not saying anything we haven't
That's fine
already.
if you're truthful.
And none of it's true. This is not.
Excuse me. Decorum, you would expect that the people that are complaining that claim to be teachers right now, excuse me, ma'am, please, silence. You are conducting a meeting. Please be silent. When I recognize you, you can speak during the question and answer
Welcome to the
period.
normal classroom in Oklahoma because.
Ma'am, I've been in an
this
normal
is the
classroom
way
for
it is.
35 years.
Guess
okay?
what? 30 years.
And I ask you to please quit screaming.
Oh, yeah, but we need to hear some
We need to have
truth.
civil conversations in here.
Okay,
Let's
this is
let the
honesty and
gentleman
truth.
speak.
That would
We haven't seen that
That would
yet.
involve.
We have heard
Party.
just.
Bring up the receipts.
So what you see, folks, is this is a fight that's been going on for decades. That you've seen a push and you've seen things that have occurred in classrooms and have been found in libraries that you would have never believed just 10 or 15 years ago. And folks, the reality is we have gone from, guys, we weren't teaching math and reading well at all 10 years ago. We are 49th in the country in our reading scores. We are 48th in the country in our math scores. But what we've seen even over the last decade or so is a push to move not only from not teaching these things well, but to actually pushing this indoctrination, as I just laid out. And here's the reality. You have some major players that are pushing it. Again, when you talk about the National Teachers Union, you're talking about an operation that will spend millions of dollars to undermine this country, to undermine our society, and folks, to be really frank with you, to undermine the family unit. They want to break down the family. They want to have discussions with your kids about being transgender in the earliest of grades. These are inappropriate conversations. These are inappropriate in our schools. Now, folks, let me tell you, it doesn't matter how much the radical left attacks me. It doesn't matter how much the teachers' unions spend against me. I will never stop speaking truth, and I will never stop fighting And here's what we know. What we know is that the family unit is the way God designed society. That's controversial to some, but it's not controversial to most. God created a family to support a child. And we should do all that we can to support that family in supporting the child. That means school choice.
What about the families that don't?
That means
How about they have dinner on their tables? Start there. Classes that are smaller than 35. How about that?
Where's our millions?
That means if you want to move your kid to another school that you think does better for your child, you should be allowed to do so. That means if you want to see the curriculum in your child's school, you should be able to do so. That means that you should be able to see the budget inside the school and how every dollar is spent. That means that in the state of Oklahoma, you should know that when you send your child to school, your child will get a great education with high expectations.
As long as they're Christian.
Yeah.
The expectations placed on your child need to be about academics,
And only if it's
not indoctrination. They need to be about good behavior and not making excuses for poor behavior in the class. And folks, what we're going to continue to do is, I can promise you this, we will fight back against this radical Biden administration every time they try to step into the state of Oklahoma and dictate things that go against our values. Folks, we're not going to have boys playing girls' sports. Not happening here. Teachers Union said last week, they told every teacher, on your summer reading list for your kids should be genderqueer and flamers. Not in the state of Oklahoma, it will not be.
Every teacher, even pre.
Also,
Wow, that's a great.
we will never allow conversations about sex to happen with your kids without your knowledge and without your involvement. That is outrageous. It should absolutely never happen, and it will not happen here in the state of Oklahoma. So, guys,
You do know
you see the fight before us. You see the organized efforts from groups that are funded by the likes of George Soros to come into our state and undermine our values, undermine our schools, and undermine your family. Folks, we got to fight back. And I'm going to tell you, folks, I'm very optimistic that we will win this. As I travel around the state and I go to every single county, I hear it loud and clear from Oklahomans.
That we hate you?
This state will be a state that values education, that rejects radical leftism, that ensures that the family unit is the core aspect of an educational system, an educational product, and of our society. I will never stop fighting for families. I will never stop fighting for kids. And I will never stop fighting for taxpayers. And that's the promise I will make to you today.
Speaking of taxpayer dollars. Let's talk about money.
Where's the gear fund?
We have some very animated folks.
You know that some Christians don't.
So, hey guys, no, that's great. Let's go to some questions now. So here's what I'm gonna do. Hey guys, I know there's gonna be a lot of questions. I'm gonna go one by one, and here's the deal. Here, can I go? You guys want me to go? Okay.
Absolutely, full blown.
So, and here's what I'm gonna do. You might not like my answer, folks. I understand that. But I will promise you one thing. I'm going to answer you truthfully, and I'm going to answer you directly. And guys, that's what you hear from me up here. And I understand it, guys. Now, look, I understand that a lot of you in this room didn't like the things I had to say. But I'm going to promise you one thing. I'm going to tell it to you. And if you want to tell me I'm dead wrong, you can tell me I'm dead wrong. But guys, this is how we move forward. This is how we have these discussions. Can I give one? I promise I'll shut up after this. One more point. Folks, I am always open to discussion around any issue. 2 years ago, I'm going to give you an example. 2 years ago, I was a firm believer in our school report card system, the way it is. I think we have some teachers here. I was a firm believer in the school report card the way it was. And I thought, you know what? This is a great indicator. This gives us a great example for communities to see how schools are doing. Over the last 2 years traveling the state, I decided, hey, I've heard from parents, teachers, and administrators like this thing has to look radically different. Shouldn't look the way it is now. It's not working. It's not working for teachers. It's not working for parents. People don't understand it. And so, guys, I am working to do a complete overhaul of that. We're going to hold these stakeholder meetings across the state. Again, I am very open to the conversations. Again, I understand we're not going to agree on everything. I do want to answer your questions, but folks, I would ask me a question. I'm going to answer it. You might not like it. That's going to be my answer. And I want to move around so we can get around the room. I'm going to just sit my phone out right here. Just give me 1 second. Just so I can be aware of the time. Oh, we're good. Okay. Yes, sir.
So the Tulsa Race Massacre
Yes, sir.
was followed by 100 years of silence. The reason it was followed by 100 years of silence was the shame. It was a shameful event. When I learned about it, not in public schools, I felt bad. I felt angry. I felt all these emotions. 2 years ago, when I learned about the concentration camp that happened the day after, I was even more angry. I was even more ashamed that white Tulsans committed genocide against black Tulsans. What I don't understand is how that does not fall under your definition of CRT.
Thank you for the question. Now, I want to be clear. When we wrote, and we've got some of the legislators here, I appreciate Representative Connolly being here in the room, that helped develop HB 1775, which is, in essence, the critical race theory bill. One of the things that we did essentially at the beginning is we wrote at the very beginning, all Oklahoma standards have to be taught. This is not an end around to say, we're not going to teach the Tulsa Race Massacre. That is absolutely not only not the intention, it was verbatim in the bill to say all of these standards have to be taught. I believe our kids have to know all of our history. That's the good, the bad, and the ugly. Folks, I believe this is absolutely the greatest country in the history of the world. I don't think there's any doubt about it. That doesn't mean there weren't mistakes made. That doesn't mean that we didn't live up to our principles. The only way our kids have the ability to learn from history and make this country continue to be the best country is to understand those times we fell short, a very clear, a very direct understanding of those events. I will always support that. Our kids should know that about the Tulsa Race Massacre. They absolutely should. There are standards around it. I'm continuing to work to develop even more robust curriculum around these events, and I don't want to hide any part of history. It all needs to be right there, very plain, very direct, so that we can learn from it. So I do think it's very important.
Follow up?
Yes, sir. Sure. Yes, sir. Thank you.
How does the Tulsa Race Massacre not fall under your definition of CRT?
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, I didn't address that part. I would never tell a kid that because of your race, because of your color of your skin, or your gender, or anything like that, you are less of a person or are inherently racist. That doesn't mean you don't judge the actions of individuals. Oh, you can absolutely. Historically, you should. This was right. This was wrong. They did this for this reason. But to say it was inherent in that because of their skin is where I say that is critical race theory. You're saying that a race defines a person. I reject that. So I would say you'd be judgmental of the issue, of the action, of the content, of the character of the individual, absolutely. But let's not tie it to the skin color and say that the skin color determined that.
One more follow-up. How does the Tulsa Race Massacre not fall under your definition of CRT?
I answered it. That's my answer. Again, I feel like
The
it.
Tulsa Race Massacre was a race massacre. How does it not fall under CRT?
I've answered your question. I do appreciate it. Very respectful, good
100 years
questions.
of silence was about race. How does that not fall? How does that not qualify?
I appreciate your question. I want to give some other people some opportunity. Yes, ma'am,
I think
Shades.
this might help because CRT is like, it's a thick book.
You brought the CRT book with you? All right, that's, she literally brought the book.
I did. I'm like, it's because we're talking about something we don't understand. I barely understand this. So I don't understand why we're talking about something we don't understand. We need to know what we're talking about when we talk about CRT.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also, I am a pastor, and I have a lot to talk about with you with the Christian nationalism that's happening right now in this room. Because George Soros' comment you made, that fuels anti-Semitism, and I'm just very passionate about
Oh,
this.
come on.
It does. I just graduated seminary, and I'm a pastor at Cable Oklahoma City, and this is just very passionate to me, and my kids are in public schools, and I also care very much about our Muslim kids, our kids that don't believe in God.
Absolutely,
I want them to come and feel
Yes.
like they belong too,
Yes,
and not
absolutely.
have forced prayer on them.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, okay, let me take those. You kind of made two really good points there. First one is, you gotta define the terms. I agree with you 100%, ma'am. And that's where, again, in HB 1775, we actually didn't write the term critical race theory. We listed out the 8 elements that we said would be inappropriate. Because again, you want to make sure you define the terms. And again, I'm going to tell you, I know I kind of scoffed at you on the George Soros comment, and I just wanted to say, folks, I'm pretty direct. I mean, I know that a lot of you don't like it, but I'm pretty direct. If I want to say something, I promise you I'll say it. George Soros is one of the biggest funders of the far left in this country. He has funded school board races here in the state. He has spent money against me in the state. I think that is dead wrong, okay? I don't agree with him. I don't agree with his tactics. I will always tell you, again, that's my direct answer. That's my problem with George Soros. 100% he is anyone here. Hold on, can I?
And then you fuss at George Soros.
Okay, so hold on. Yeah, give me. So is that the question? You want me to respond to that?
Why do you get to take money from out-of-state religious groups, Moms for Liberty, and you fuss at George Soros?
Absolutely.
So we can fuss at you about
Yeah,
it.
absolutely. You can fuss at
Okay,
me.
but I think-
Yes, ma'am. Hey, and look, and hey, I get it. Yes, ma'am. And you are fussing at me, and that's okay. But here's the deal. I don't agree with him. I don't agree with him.
Well, I don't agree with Moms for Liberty.
No, but look, I'm just explaining to you you're asking my position, I'm just explaining it. I think George Soros has done more damage to this country than nearly any individual in history. So I don't.
Talk about you,
Yeah, ma'am,
not
I'm
George
trying, ma'am, I'm
Soros.
I'm just trying to answer. Again, I'm being really direct.
You are.
So I am saying that's how I feel about him. So yes, I call him out if he's funding a group or we see the paper trails there. I call him out. And again, if you don't
It's
like
okay for
the
us to
people
call
I'm
you out
associated
then.
with,
Then
you
why
can
can't we
absolutely.
hold
call you
signs
out
up
then?
today? Why can't we hold those signs and call you out?
Ma'am, I
Do you
honestly.
want me to leave
Ma'am,
now?
no, ma'am, and I didn't make any of the rules. I really didn't make any of the rules around today. So listen, I appreciate it. I do appreciate it.
But you know, I will say this, thank you for being honest about how radical right you are. I truly
Yeah, we for
appreciate
that.
it.
Heartwarming.
I don't know if that was taken as a compliment, but look, guys, I really do, and I hope you see that. I'm trying to genuinely be very direct with the answers, and look, I understand a lot of you are going to go, I don't know, you might like me less after today, but I do hope you know where I stand, and you hope that you hear where I'm coming from. Yes, ma'am. You've been waiting patiently. Thank you.
How will you guarantee the civil rights of transgender students in Oklahoma schools?
I apologize. How do I guarantee
The
what?
civil rights of transgender students in Oklahoma schools.
Great question. Listen, here's my core belief. Every single child was created by God in His image. That means every single child should be treated with respect and dignity in every sense of that. Now, here's my position on the transgender issue when it comes to bathrooms, when it comes to sports. I believe it is a danger to the other children. I don't believe you allow boys in the girls' bathroom unattended. I think it creates a very dangerous environment. We've seen an assault in Edmond Public Schools in a situation like that. I think we have alleged assault. I mean, that's so we have to split.
You're concerned about assault and get rid of the teachers
I'm
that are assaulting
So we need
children
to continue
actively
to
right
split
now.
those things, and to me, we can have common sense
You're the teacher.
policies in place to ensure that, again, we need to ensure safety is there and common sense practices are in place, but no child should be targeted in any way to make them feel less of a person or with any kind of disregard to their dignity. And that is my position on that. And again, and I'm telling you, that shouldn't matter regardless. It shouldn't matter what a child's position is. Shouldn't matter any of those type of situations, no matter what a child's going through or what a child identifies as. The dignity and respect has to be there and has to be protected. I believe that absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I was delighted to hear you say that statement about career techs. The career techs are absolutely our prize in this
Wonderful.
state. It
They're
really
wonderful.
is. I have been sent and told several things, and I'd like to find out if they're true.
Yes, ma'am. Go for it.
Yes, it's particularly about the federal grant contracts that apparently were left on the table. Competitive grants about $100 million and total about $900 million.
Okay.
And that you say that diversity, equity, inclusion efforts are Marxists. And that teachers' unions are terrorist organizations. And you blame your predecessor, Joy Hoffmeister, for that, leaving what you said was a dumpster fire. And that the speaker tried to get you to come to a.
Ma'am, you're hitting me with a lot. I want to make sure I remember all these. Okay, but.
Okay, the speaker tried to get you to come to a panel
Yep.
twice, and he had to threaten you to get you to come. The speaker McCall, yes. And I'd just like to know if those are all
Good
true
que-
things and why you're saying those things.
Okay. Thank you for, again, well thought out question. Lots of information. I'm going to try, I kind of like to go, no, I'll do it in order which you asked. Yeah, guys, this whole $100 million Ryan didn't apply for, that is absolute nonsense. It's a complete lie, and a complete fabrication. Not only is it a lie, we've literally received federal funds. It's all come in. That is completely false. It was a lie. I kept going out in the media every day going, guys, I literally have no idea what they're talking about. I posted on social media. We have correspondent from the federal government going, everything's turned in early. Everything's great. So we put all of those things out and said, ma'am, that was a lie that got started. The teachers union pushed that around to scare everyone. Hey, just watch. See if any school is without any money. The money's been applied for, the money is in, all of that happened. Most of those things are reports that we turned in way early. I'm sorry, let me back through her stuff. Okay, teachers unions are terrorists. Okay, listen, when you say you're going to keep schools shut down and you're not going to open them till we pay you a certain amount of money, and if we don't pay you a certain amount of money, this is what happened with the feds. Yes, ma'am. I mean, it's all documented. All the emails are out. If you don't pay us a certain amount of money, we'll keep these schools closed down indefinitely. Man, that's what they did. Now, again, that's the union bosses. Most of our teachers, first of all, aren't in the union, number one. Number two, most of the teachers in the union, I don't think hold the positions of the union. But your union bosses who make a very good living off of the backs of teachers through their paychecks sit around and make decisions. No, well, I'm talking about their executive committee gets paid very well, ma'am. And so that's that. I'm sorry, I'm trying to back up. What was the other one? Oh, dumpster fire. Absolutely, Joy Hoffmeister left me a dumpster fire. That agency is such a disaster from the decisions she made. We are going to clean it up. We've gone a long way with it, and we are working on getting more of this information out to the public. We saved $3 million in just a few months. We're going to continue to do that. We're going to continue to make sure taxpayers see that. I'm sorry. I know I missed one. Oh, DEI. Guys, folks, look. We have seen, under the guise of diversity, equity, and inclusion, those words all sound fine. But what we have seen is this is the pushing of indoctrination, of telling students that they are or aren't something based on the color of their skin. And I believe we should tell every child the same thing. You are capable of great things. If you work hard, if you have good value system, and again, it's your value system, you determine that. Okay? And you continue to work towards a vision. That's what history tells us. You continue to think about what you can do in life. You work hard, you have a good value set, you can be successful. I don't care your background, your ethnicity, whether you're rich or poor, you can be successful. That's what we need to be telling every student, ma'am.
As a former reading specialist.
Oh, very good. Yeah.
School,
Yes, ma'am.
Midwest City.
Excellent.
That's what I told my students.
You're awesome.
Whatever. It was not a black or a white or brown students that I differentiate. I told them those very things. And every teacher that I knew in that school did the same thing.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Hey, all I can say that, thank you. I mean, I bet you were awesome. I bet you were great. I'm sorry. I know he was. Were you waiting? Yes, sir. Go ahead. He was waiting. Okay.
Where's the $29 million?
Yes.
Good.
Why are you banning books and coming to speak in a library? And absolutely they are.
Hey, you're
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. And third, what do kids who don't believe in your God supposed to do when you're
What was your first? Oh, the money. Oh, guys. Hey, look, the audit's out. We've been audited frontwards, backwards, many times over. And guys, listen. We had a vendor that signed a contract with the state that said, we will disperse this money and we assume all responsibility for said money. And there was money that was
They were
missing.
not authorized to do so.
You authorized them to do that.
And we moved to hold that vendor accountable through a lawsuit.
Did you vet that vendor?
This is all before I was in office. Okay? So once I came into office, we began internally auditing this vendor, okay, and what was going on there, and we found issues, and that's where the auditing process ramped up. So that was the vendor. Second question, books. Okay, look, here's the deal, folks. This is about academic value and appropriate levels of what's in content of our books. I'm not, hey, if you want to purchase a book at home, if you want a book in a library, it's one thing. But there's material that's inappropriate for young kids. So what I've said is, we've got to make sure, hey, I'm telling you, even inside of school, right? A 17-year-old is going to be reading content that probably a 4-year-old shouldn't, right? So what we've got to do is have age-appropriate material. There are some that I feel like, and I call them out by name, sir. There are some I feel that have no academic value. They are pushing an ideology or an agenda. They're so over the top, and I'm going, why?
Like Mein Kampf is allowed?
Historical content, understanding the terrible aspect in history. Oh, our kids need to know all the terrible things that the Nazis supported the communism, that all needs to be defined. Kids have to understand the good and the bad of world history. I'm sorry, sir, you had one other one.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, you-
I forgot what it was. What did I say?
God.
God.
Oh, yes, yes, sir. Thank you,
Atheist
thank you.
kids, Muslim kids, Jewish kids.
Great question. This is about, and folks, what we've said is every district has to recognize a moment, a minute of silence. And that minute of silence, they are to tell the children, the minute of silence is there if they want to pray, if they want to sit silently, they can do so. But that minute should be protected. Our founders believed freedom of religion was important.
Why can't you pray before you get to class?
This is state law.
Yeah.
And I fully, 100% support it. We should be encouraging kids to exercise their faith when they're in school, and I'll always support religious freedom and their ability to exercise that. And again, that also means, sir, to your point, if you don't want to, that's also your choice. And you shouldn't feel that you were made to either.
What
So
about the Ten Commandments?
Okay, hold on. Thank you. Three, yes, sir. Here's that. I'm trying to move around a little bit.
So, I understand that we've had a lot of discussion about LGBTQ people, but what comes as a surprise to me when I was trying to do the math, figure out how many people in our school system identify as that. I was doing some rough numbers, and out of the over 700,000 students, both private and public combined, in the year 2022, only 6% of them reported to being LGBTQ. Now, my question is, why are we prioritizing such a focus on this lens when we should be focusing on the 49 in education? I grew up first generation. I grew up learning Spanish in the household, first learning English in school. And throughout that process, I was told that my English was bad and I needed to fix it. But we should be focusing, at least in my opinion, what are we doing to those kids that are an increasing population of Hispanic kids, different colored kids, who don't come learn English first? How are we prioritizing them in the classrooms? That way they're able to catch up and prosper in the state of Oklahoma.
Yes.
You know?
Hey, look, we're launching the most aggressive reading plan in state's history this fall. We have to make sure that every teacher is trained properly in the science of reading, and that every school has leadership there that allows them to make sure they got the training. Also tutors, as you know. Reading is one of those complicated things where, guys, it takes a lot of you've got to go over it time and time again. It takes a lot of repetition, and it takes people. I mean, it takes people. You got one teacher over 26 kids. That is incredibly difficult to do if parents aren't doing it at home. I feel like that's essential. Math is another one you mentioned there. I agree with you 1,000%. If you can't do basic math, you can't hardly move up in any kind of careers. I completely agree on that point. I'm going to tell you, my focus hasn't been one group or another group. It has been, listen, why in the world are we having these materials in schools? We've got national organizations saying that's our goal. Hey, our reading list is you need to make sure kids are reading these things. And I'm going, guys, let's get back to focusing on the basics. I agree with you. That is how you get folks to be empowered, to get a good job, to get a good career. I don't care what their background is. Let's do a deep dive into reading and math. Let's get the emphasis there. Let's get our focus there. I am committed to that. I want us to do that. I believe we can be a leader. I think we have tight-knit communities. I believe that we can do this, but I believe we've got to make sure that we got the resources there and the people there to make sure the supports are in place. Because again, for all of our kids that are behind in reading, we got about 29% reading on grade level in 4th grade. Hey, that's a lot. I mean, it's going to take a lot. It's going to take a lot of intervention. That takes manpower. That takes a lot of resources, and we need to make sure that those things are there. So, yes, sir. Were you asking? Yeah.
I do. So I have a few, but I promise I'll keep them kind of short because I don't want to take time away from everybody else. So my first question goes back to the audit. You had said that this had happened before you had taken over the office, but the audit specifically says the person who headed the Every Kids Counts program. So 2 of those programs were audited, but you're saying that it was due to an outside vendor, but you were in charge of those. So are you not going to take any responsibility?
So here's what happens. When you give a vendor a contract with the state, the contract says explicitly they assume responsibility for the money given in said contract.
States did not have that problem.
So here's the deal, guys. Every time, hey, we've caught multiple bad acting vendors. And when a vendor gets caught, the vendor goes, well, hold on a second. We had this conversation. Well, hold on a second. We've got this text. So hold on a second. Okay, the reason you sign contracts is so there is a contract that we can all look at. We can get legal folks in there. We can go, Who does the contract say is responsible? Whose name is on this? You assumed responsibility, so who's in charge of this? That's the whole purpose in signing contracts. Folks,
You gave them authorization that you did not have to give.
Yep.
My other question is that you've continuously preached that there is indoctrination in public schools now and even when you were campaigning. So what is your solution to the alleged indoctrination? Is that why you're taking the route of a religious charter school? Is that to fix that alleged indoctrination?
Okay, so good question. Let me address it like this. Yes, I absolutely believe there is radical indoctrination in our schools. I've been showing the examples of it for 2 years now on the campaign trail once in office. Now look, folks, I believe we got to get that out, but then this gentleman asked a great question. We have then got to go in and replace it to ensure our math, our reading scores are up. But folks, U.S. history, Oklahoma history. I've been working with the tribes to develop more robust curriculum. We want people to be proud of our history and understand, again, the good and the bad, all of it, but go, you know what, I want to move back to Oklahoma. We have got to make sure that what we're doing in our schools is content rich, is academically rich, because we know study after study shows the more academic rich the material is that you're reading, the more, not only is reading comprehension going to go up, as you get into the later grades, you've already got the content knowledge that's baked in that's there. We've got to make sure in 2023 there shouldn't be any issue for a teacher to have all of that at their fingertips. They should have the resources, they should have the professional development. We can streamline these things, we can get them there. That, to me, is our ticket out. You get the indoctrinational materials out, you put the focus on these materials, and you make sure that everybody has them in their hands and has a development.
Diverse books.
Here, I'll give her one more. Guys, we'll go around.
I just have one more, I promise.
Yeah.
So, your office has continuously also preached that you are the most transparent office that has taken office with the State Department of Education.
Yep.
Tomorrow, it will be 100 days since I filed an open records request with your office. Does that spark you as transparent? Why have I waited 100 days?
So I have responded to more open records requests in the 6 months I've been there. Hold on. Than Joy Hoffmeister did her entire second term.
This isn't about Joy.
No. Hey, folks, it's just I'm just giving you context.
No context.
I'll check on that. Kaylee, I don't know what you're talking about specifically. I'll check on that tonight.
I had asked about pornography in schools since you had taken over office. I asked for
Okay.
schools, not school districts. Justin Holcomb
Oh, the
told
buildings.
me I will not waste taxpayer funds pulling this information.
Okay.
I have waited, I have gone the formal route. I'm still not getting any answers, and a lot of people want those answers.
Kaylee,
So
I'll tell you. I'll check on it tonight. I wasn't familiar with it. I will check on that. Okay. Yes, ma'am. You've been waiting. Yep.
Since we're talking about indoctrination.
Yes, ma'am.
So you seem to operate with a lot of double standards, so I have some confusion that I need some clarity on. So there's a coach in Ringling,
Yes.
who had his, I don't know what he coached, but he had his players do up and downs
Naked burpees.
naked burpees. And apparently it did some damage to their body parts, and he was accused of this. And you are not taking away his teacher's license.
But
okay?
you're coming after his
But you're coming after Summer Boysimer, who was found to be at no fault at all. And then there was no fault whatsoever. And you said, oh, we're just going to take her license away anyways. So here you have a gentleman who's doing as you say, maybe one of the few who's doing as you say, inappropriate things. And you're not taking away his teaching license, and you're not pursuing anything. So please help me understand.
Thank you for your question. So on both fronts, folks, the situation in Reedling has been being investigated by the OSBI. We have
Then he should
We
be
have,
teaching.
hold on.
If you took
We
some
have
of
been
this
operating with
personally-
the OSBI, we have been talking to the OSBI, we've been giving them any information and pushing for them to get more information, and they are working towards a conclusion of that, at which point we will be able to operate under the material. During an open investigation.
No, but there's a double standard there. There's a double standard. You have one set of rules that you like to play by, and then you have another set that you tell everybody else that we have to play by.
So here's, we will pursue anybody that
Then pursue it, do something.
that inappropriately touches, messes with, talks to children. That is absolutely.
Have them be naked on a
So,
football field and jump up and
Ma'am,
down.
I'm telling you right now, working with state investigators and other investigators to make sure that folks are being held accountable to the fullest extent of the law, it is holding folks accountable.
Coming after summer.
Oh, let me answer the second part of your question. Guys, if you have a teacher,
He's
I'm
no
not gonna
longer on
do
leave.
anything with
No,
that.
he's
They're
no longer
working
on
with,
leave.
here's the deal about
He's no
Sunday.
longer on leave. He still has access to children.
When you have a teacher that came out and said, I broke state law,
Someone said,
I will
here's
continue-
a QR code to
Ma'am,
books.
ma'am.
Here's naked penises and testicles.
ma'am, I'm trying to answer your question. I appreciate the question, I'm trying to answer your question. If you come out and say you break state law, if you come out and say you're going to continue to break state law, if you walk around and say I'm a walking, talking violation of breaking state law, and that's what I'm
Like
going to
having children dressed out naked
Then you're-
seems like a walking, talking violation of the law. Does
then
it not?
you're not going to teach in the state of Oklahoma.
Okay, then
Thank
do
you
it.
for your
Do
question.
it.
I answered that pretty directly, I feel like. Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Nope, you didn't. You did not.
Yes.
My name is Shawnee Evans, and I teach at Moore High School. I've taught for 23 years. I'm quitting in December, not because of him, because I'm old. And I'm here in Kansas City. I have so much that I'd like to say, but I'm going to start with this. I just have comments. My family was Republican. My father fought in World War II. My cousins, my uncle, my aunt were all veterans. My brother is a veteran. So for me, even though I'm a liberal Democrat, to be called a Marxist infuriates. I lived in South Africa when the ANC was there, which was a communist organization. To be called a communist infuriates. The other thing I want to say about teachers, you dividing parents and teachers, I have great parents this year. Thank God for the parents I have this year. I teach 115 teenagers every year, biology. Our sex ed went through the toilet the minute you got in the office. Even the kids were like, where's our sex ed? All we teach now is HIV/AIDS. We used to have a whole comprehensive plan so the kids would be protected. We're not allowed to teach it. The nurse comes in, stands up, teaches it. The kids ask questions, we go home. Parents can opt out. Parents can always opt out. Parents have to opt in for all kinds of other things. This divisive rhetoric, the kids are watching this. The kids are watching this. The other thing I want to say is this idea that the teachers were sitting around drinking margaritas during COVID and wanted the schools to close. I was the union rep at my school during that time. I'm not now. But I had teachers who were pregnant with high-risk pregnancies. I had those who had autoimmune disorders. I had teachers who were older with heart problems. They deserved hazard pay, which they did not get. We went back to school full tilt, even though the town of Moore chose not to wear masks. I was in the classroom, 115 kids. I got sick with COVID 6 times. I had those kids when they lost their parents, their grandparents, and their siblings, and their cousins. So I know what that's all about. So to have you and all this rhetoric about how bad the teachers are and that we wanted to close the schools down, we did not. I was in there every day with them, coughing and hacking in my face, watching 100 kids get sick off and on, because almost every single one of them did, and trying to keep up with their work through 2 years of that was the hardest thing I ever did in my life. So I find that I don't even know the word for it. I mean, it just makes me angry to the core to have you blame teachers when we were what was holding up society during that time.
So folks, who did I say close down schools? I said the teachers union closed down schools. Who did I say are Marxists? It's your radical teachers union who openly says it at their convention. So folks, here's the deal. I know the teachers union wants to lie to folks all over the state and say, he's saying teachers. Folks, I couldn't be more clear. You have a radical teachers union that is absolutely Marxist. You have a teachers union that absolutely champions school shutdowns. You have a teachers union that absolutely champions gender queer and flamer. That is what they want in our schools. I will never back down fighting from it. I will never back down from any of the threats from the union, from the federal government. We will get this out of our schools. Folks, I told you I had a hard stop at 6:30. I get one more question. I would like to talk to some of you on the way out of the room, so let me have one more question. I'll gather myself talk. I know Okay, we'll do two, let her, and then, I'm sorry, I mentioned about, yes, ma'am, you've been waiting for a while.
Thank you. First of all, this is more for them than you, because I will tell you who I am. You've been very honest about who you are. I am a Republican lifelong from a diehard Republican, Trump-loving family. I am evangelical, all of that. I am a teacher of 19 years. I disagree with 99% of what you say. But my question's here, and I got a couple of comments based on what you've said. One, you said that you're getting ready to start Science of Reading, and I will have the people here know I started that 2 years ago, funded by the state of Oklahoma and the Department of Education. So it's not new, it's fabulous, it's wonderful.
Absolutely.
Please continue it, but it's not started by you. Two, with Summer and with the Ringling coach and the Kingfisher coach, she's right, there's a double standard. Prior job, I was an attorney. She can stand there and say she broke the law all you want to, but the fact is you had a hearing, they told you, you did not meet the criteria, and you replied, you don't care, you are going to go after her license anyway. Okay, your choice, you're wrong, all right, that's your stand, but to come in here and say that you aren't doing anything with the other two, when one of them, we've got pictures out there of the abuse in Kingfisher. We have a man who showed off his penis to his students to show them what a real man is, and then made them exercise naked. And you're saying that you can't do anything because of the law. Well, that is not right. That actually has nothing to do with my question. That just has to do from here.
Thank you.
My question is, I am a K-5 STEM teacher. I have written grants for the entirety of my career with probably close to $200,000 received by now. I'm good at what I do. I still do not have what I need to teach these kids from K-5 in STEM, which is what we need, and I'm fighting with some of the policies that you are trying to put out there about SEL and things like that, because my entire program is built on the idea that mistakes are valuable and that we need to teach them that they are valuable and how to work through those, and every bit of that is social emotional learning. I have participated in a program for almost a decade, started by Steve Messler, who was bobsledder in the Olympics, fabulous guy, all about SEL, teaching them through sports how to manage their emotions, how to manage all of this. But when you come out and you say, we can't do SEL because SEL is diversity, equity, inclusion, and it's all CRT, what you're doing is you're putting me in a position where I have to decide, am I gonna follow what you say the law is, or am I gonna teach what my kids need? And that's where you're placing teachers. By the way, also not a union member, haven't been. So I'm the person you should be reaching. Based on what you say, I am your demographic. And you're not reaching me.
But you're alienating your
So-
demographic.
You are,
You're
very much so.
alienating people.
So, I like what you said about the STEM classes, K through 5. I agree with you 100%. We need to get young people involved in that earlier, because I do feel like so many young folks, they get into high school and they think, that's not for me.
So what are you doing to help me?
Hey, I just told you, we are launching, and again, you are right. We have done Science of Reading before. This will be 10 times the investment there. I asked for 100 times the investment. It will be 10 times, it will be much larger. I actively want to make sure you have all the resources you need to go in there and teach STEM in the way that you can. I would love to connect with you on that. If there's any grants, if there's anything out there that you go, hey, we need this or we need that, we're going to pursue them. We want to be a leader in education. We want our kids to be placed to be successful in the STEM fields. Oklahoma, we're booming with STEM industry. We have businesses coming in from all over saying we want to start here, but we're kind of worried, are you guys going to support STEM education? My answer always is yes. So I want to support you in that. I want to make sure you have the tools to be successful, and I thank you for what you're doing. That is a very important field. I'm glad that you're doing it. So I will absolutely support STEM. I will absolutely make sure that we have kids that have the skills for the workforce, and that's absolutely booming. So I appreciate your question. I told the gentleman back, all right, I'm sorry I missed you. I'll give you the last one, and I'm going to have to kind of wrap up.
You said that conversations about sex should not occur without the approval of parents, I guess. You said people in the room. If they do not hear at an appropriate age, and I'm thinking like at least 9th grade and up, from a certified teacher in maybe a health class, do you honestly believe that students, young people, will not have conversations about sex in the back seats of cars. They're gonna be able to drive at 16 and 15 and a half, I mean, with a permit. They're gonna be able to drive, but they won't be able to learn about it until maybe it's a situation where they're learning about it because something else happened. Do you not believe that conversations are gonna be happening outside of school?
Yeah, thank you for the question, sir. Here's the deal, guys, and these type of questions of, well, it goes on everywhere, doesn't mean that you then put an adult that's not a parent in a situation where they're talking about sex with a young person. I think that's grossly inappropriate. I think it's the same.
Not all parents feel comfortable saying something to their students about this, or even authorizing it, because they don't know what's gonna be said. But they can know with a health book, they can know from the curriculum, they can be informed and advised, and if they want to do something to take their kids out that day, obviously they can do that.
Sure.
But don't you think that they should have the opportunity to hear it from a certified instructor, rather than have the conversations outside, where they're gonna have
If a parent, well, look, and this is the deal. If a parent wants to go and get a counselor or get a teacher and say, we want you to have this conversation, a one-on-one situation, that's fine. But what we've seen is, that's what I do not support. Okay, again, this argument that it happens, oh, the world, all of this pornography is everywhere. Why don't we just let it in our schools? That is how I hear it all. Hey, folks. So I know that. So it's really clear, folks. I don't do justification that all these bad things are happening in society, so we should allow them to happen in school.
That's right.
I reject the argument totally. I believe that we have to ensure our kids are protected. I've laid out today the folks that are after your kids. I will not back down to these folks. But I do want to appreciate, thank you for being here, sir. Appreciate you all very much for coming out. Y'all have a good night, folks. Have a good one.